So
Hmm.
because of that, what does success look like for you?
Oh, that's a good question. Success, I have crazy big dreams, but I try to like limit myself to like, let's just look at the year. Let's just figure out what we're going to do this year and then like 5 years and then 10 years. So, I mean, my husband and I talk about our like goals and dreams for the future all the time, and a crazy kind of out there dream that we probably will actually make happen. I mean, people probably hear us talk about this and are like, that's crazy, but we're going to buy land in Costa Rica and then we're going to build tiny little homes that will be like, it'll be like a wellness vacation retreat. So you can come for like a vacation, but it'll
Oh
also
my
be like
God.
yoga and like coaching and therapy and all of these things. Anyways, that would be awesome. That would be like kind of like a dream business goal to have happen. And that's definitely not in my 1 year goal though. But I do have like kind of smaller bite-sized goals. And I actually set out an impossible goal each year. So like the impossible, I set out one in December. So by the end of December, I'm going to reach this impossible goal. And then each quarter, I'll sit down and write down 25 steps that will take me closer to that goal. So even if that goal seems like there's no way that's ever going to happen, I'll at least be closer to that goal at the end of the year. So I'm launching a new program in September. That's part of my overarching impossible goal. And every step I've taken up until then has been kind of towards this launch that's coming up. So, yeah, so I love making goals and thinking about them. I think it's super exciting just to like imagine like what is possible and then to actually be that example of what's possible. Like some people might dream about it, but I'm like, I'm going to dream about it and then I'm actually going to do it.
I love it. I love it. And I'm sure based on how you shared with me, like you said, it's a great big goal, but because
Mhm.
you're taking those smaller steps in action, the action to ensure that those on a quarterly basis are being dealt with, or even the way how you're working with your husband and creating this big vision as a family. That's phenomenal. I mean, yes, I could see
Yeah,
you waking up and being excited every single day, right?
every day.
To make sure that, listen, I can't wait for this wellness. Hey, I may have to join you over there too, Crystal, because I
Oh,
hear all these
for
great things
sure.
about Costa Rica. So yes, that would be a fantastic dream come true.
Yeah, I've never
If
actually
you
been there
could,
before, but my husband loves building, and so he's just like all about it. So today he came home for lunch and I'm like, "Are you sure you don't want to quit now? Like maybe we should just jump right to that goal." He's the more realistic one. He's like, "No, no, no. Like that's our long-term goal." I'm like, "Okay. You sure we shouldn't just move to Costa Rica right now?"
I'm hearing my sister went to Costa Rica and she loved it. As a matter of fact, it was
Mhm.
the hardest thing for her to come back because she was having such a great time. She was calling from Costa Rica and saying, we're thinking about maybe staying here. I mean, like, wait a minute, this was supposed to be a trip, not for you to go there permanently, but it's just to show you, yes, we're hearing some beautiful things about it. So I know this is gonna happen for you, and I
Yeah.
can't wait because I got my bathing suit in my suitcase
Do
already.
it.
I'm sure you just let me know.
It's going to be an awesome retreat. It'll be, yeah. I'm so excited.
Oh man. So if you could share with the audience 3 words to describe who you are or how your business is or your journey as an entrepreneur, what would you share with them?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think light. I think one of the things that I hope that I bring to people is light. I think that a lot of times they're kind of stuck in this darkness of like overwhelm, stress, pressure, anxiety, depression,
Mm,
whatever that is. And I just hope that I bring them at least a little bit of light and just kind of direct them towards that light to where they know that they can use these tools. And when the darkness comes again, that they'll know kind of how to get themselves out of it. Also space. I'm a huge believer in minimalism. I love minimalism and I love that it just creates so much space, and not only physical space, but that I have so much more time to spend with my kids because I'm not worrying about buying stuff and taking care of stuff and selling stuff and cleaning stuff. And I think that's what coaching does with your mind. It's like taking that and then applying it to your mind. So instead of having all this clutter, all this mind clutter and all these beliefs that are really dragging us down and are there that we don't even know that are subconsciously bothering us, it's like creating that space so that what's there is only what we really want and choose to be there. And
I love it.
The third one would probably be intention, like just living intentionally and just like we live so reactively as humans, right? We don't sit down and
Yeah,
think
we
like
do.
I'm yelling at my kids or I'm, watching TV all day or just scrolled social media for 3 hours. How did that even happen? Right. But we can flip that and we can start actually living with intention. It doesn't happen overnight. It did not happen overnight with me. I'm not just like this amazing, unicorn that is able to live life normally perfectly all the time, but I do have those tools. And so when I'm, in a slump, I can be like, no, wait, I know what to do about this. And I think that living with intention even means when we do make a mistake or fail, we know what to do. I can go and apologize to my kids. We do do-overs all the time. So mom totally freaked out. I'm sorry. That was all about me. I had not eaten in 6 hours and I was just hangry. And I'm sorry that I yelled at you. Right. So living with intention doesn't mean that we will never make a mistake. Failure is part of our journey as humans, and accepting that is a huge step. That self-compassion of like, no, I'm human, you're human, we're all human, and we all make mistakes has been a big learning piece for me also. But that living with intention and just knowing that we get to design the life that we want, I truly believe we get to design the life we want. I mean, obviously, we're not always in control of every circumstance that happens.
Mm.
Like, look at COVID. I'm supposed to be, I had to cancel 4 trips so far, but things do happen in life. But we still get to create how we're going to feel about it, what our
Every
story is going
day.
to be about that.
Every
So,
day. You're right.
yeah,
You're right.
I like, I
If
like,
you
like
had,
living our
no, go
life by
ahead.
design. That's what I think
Yeah.
about often. Just like we get to design it.
Instead of living it by default, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be that intentional. That is beautiful. If you had to share something with a teenager, Crystal,
Mm.
what would you tell yourself based on
Oh,
what you shared with me, right?
so
There's so
much.
many
I'm like, can I
lessons.
tell?
There's so many lessons, right? It's like, what would you tell someone that was in their 20s, early 20s? Because I mean, you're pretty young yourself, but let's say
Mhm.
teenager age. Like, what would you tell her?
I would be like an essay. I'd be like, wait, read this whole essay and take this into. I think that's an interesting question actually, because my newest product that I'm going to be launching right away is a teen workshop. Because I sat down
Mm,
one day and thought, I wish I had these tools as a teenager. This is what they should be teaching in high school. I believe that so strongly. I'm like, they need to have a class on emotional intelligence, how to feel your
yeah.
feelings, self-compassion, how to get out of the shame cycle, how to be vulnerable, how to live life being you, right? So, I mean, there's so many things. You can learn all about it in my 12 module series on your my teen workshop, but I think probably the biggest one would just be like it's not as big of a deal as you think it is, right? These little things happen and we're just like our life is over and we go into this like shame and sad spiral, but like you're going to be okay. Like if I talked to my younger self, I was married very young. So if I talked to how I was like 21 when I had my first child. So if I talked to my 21-year-old self, I would be like, yes, this seems like this pit that you're in that you'll never get out of, but you will. It'll be okay.
It'll,
You'll thrive again.
it'll work itself out, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you keep moving forward. Just keep moving. I say life is like a quicksand, right? It's
Mhm.
like if you stand still, you sink. But if you
Yeah.
keep moving, you'll be fine. Just
Yeah.
keep moving forward. And that is a great way that you would share with the younger self. Now,
Yeah.
if you could share one, like a question or a statement that you would ask every entrepreneur out there to think about or a statement to ponder on, what would that be?
Oh, 100%. It would be discomfort. 100%. Because
Hmm.
we come into failure or into something that feels uncomfortable and we make that mean that like we're on the wrong path. We're like, oh, Kate, better stop. Like that was a bad idea. Let's turn around and go home. But that actually means that you're just on the edge of growth, that you're just on the
Hmm.
edge of learning. And so when I could start getting used to discomfort, not that it got more comfortable because it didn't, but when I got used to like, oh, discomfort's coming with for this journey along on this ride, and I'm going to feel like I'm at the top of that roller coaster, like right before you get to it goes down and you're just like, oh, this is terrible, this is going to be awful. I feel that all the time, and I'm like, oh, that means I'm growing. Like if I'm not growing, I'm not learning. Growing is learning, failing is learning.
So almost like getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And as soon as you are getting comfortable, that mean that it's almost like being stale. Like it's like
Yep.
rivers, right? A river keeps flowing. You have to keep moving. That's
It's true. I'm like,
fantastic.
oh, this week I haven't felt a lot of discomfort. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what do I need to do next week?
Mm,
Like, this week's been too easy comfort wise. So, yeah.
wow. I love it. I love it, Crystal. Is there anything that you would love to share with the audience about who you are, your message, your story?
I think just that I hope that all the moms that are listening don't feel like, oh, she's just a perfect mom. Like, look, see, she just does, I do all of the things wrong all of the time. And I'm not just saying that. I do everything. Like, I'll like sit down with my kids and be like, wait, 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 I've been doing this all wrong. Like, no, I've been doing this mom thing wrong. I read this book. We're changing. But they know that I'm like constantly changing and growing and learning. And I think I just wish that moms knew that the key to their success and the key to their feeling better is through loving themselves. And people come to me and are like, I want to become a
Mm,
good parent. And I'm like, yeah, 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 but you need to work on you. And if you have this little voice inside your head that's like, you're terrible and you're awful and you're ugly and your nose is too big and your hair looks weird, right? Like, we wouldn't just have a best friend saying those kinds of things to us all the time. We'd be like, no, like, we're not friends anymore. But we're like that to ourselves, especially as moms. Like, you're doing everything wrong. Your kids are watching too much TV. You're not, feeding them well enough. You're going to McDonald's too much, whatever that is for us. Like, all of those little thoughts will never create positive change ever for us or for our kids. So learning to like look inwards and realize that we're loved and we're worthy of love no matter what we're doing, no matter what kind of a parent we're like, that our actions don't have to do with our worth. I just wish that everybody
wow.
believed that and knew that. And that would definitely be my like overarching goal. That's the light that
Wow.
I hope that I bring to people, is the light of like that
That
they're of worth no matter what.
that's beautiful. Because it really shows the especially as moms, parents, the changes specifically with moms as we're going through parenthood. Our bodies go to change, our minds, everything
Mhm.
changes around us, and it's good to what you're sharing is good to embrace the change
Yeah.
versus it causing it to have that self-talk, that negative self-talk, and be able to understand that's just part of the journey, and you'll be
Mhm.
okay, and just keep moving in the direction of positivity and light, as you mentioned. That's fantastic. Now, if you could share, as we're wrapping this uh, beautiful session. I mean, I could be here with you, Krista, and hear you all day long. But I'm sure you
Thank
have
you.
4 kids that you need to tend to,
Gotta
right?
feed
To
them
work with.
dinner. Yeah.
Yes. So, if you had one statement of how you do your business, what would that statement be? What is your purpose?
I think my purpose would be to help overwhelmed moms love themselves and love their motherhood. And I think that a lot of people claim they love their motherhood. And if you looked on their Instagram, you'd be like, oh, they're a great mom. They love their motherhood, right? But you talk to them, they don't actually like being with their kids. They don't actually enjoy being around them or with them. And a lot of that has to do with their mindset and their thinking. And so I think just helping them shift that. So, like, it's actually possible to enjoy motherhood even when your kids are little and screaming and yelling and it's hard. It's possible to enjoy motherhood even when your teenagers are back talking and like don't want to have anything to do with you. It's possible to enjoy your motherhood and yourself every step of the journey. And that doesn't mean it's going to be easy or rainbows and daisies all the time, but that it can happen.
In other words, it's possible.
It's possible. Yeah.
Well, Crystal, it was a fantastic time to spend with you. I've learned so much just having this conversation. And my kids are adult, they're adult,
Mhm.
young. They're young, but they're still at the point where now they're, morphing into the person that they want to be as young adults. And I tell you, what you're sharing is golden. Hope every mom understand to stay in the movement of being the great mother that you want to be, the great parent that
Mhm.
you want to be, but understand and embracing those changes is going to be part of the journey. And of
Yeah.
course, if you want to connect with Crystal, definitely reach out to her. She will be able to help you discover the greatness that's within you as a mom. With
Yeah.
that, We are so thankful and so grateful for you, Crystal. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here at Your Inspired Journey. I'm Carla Andrews, and I wish you well.